How are you doing? Happy Monday night to everyone. Thank you for dropping in to the inaugural show of The Physicist and the Philosopher. And tonight on the inaugural event, we have Dr. Claudia Albers and we have our special guest, Scott Sion. Scott, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, buddy. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. I appreciate you coming on, and well, I just find this is it's a pleasure. So thank you, sir. How are you? And Claudia, thank you. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm very well, Wayne. Thank you. And you look well.
I'm doing great. I was out shoveling a little snow. So it's cold here. I already have some questions that people have sent in for you, Claudia. So we have some really good questions. Scott, welcome. I appreciate you coming on. So I'm going to ask you, what is going on?
Well, it was kind of a quiet afternoon today. And me and Claudia went out, later in the day to take some photographs. And I got to tell you, man, I caught something up in the sky. As of right now, me and Claudia both looked over the photographs, and I have absolutely no idea what this object is. And I'm going to show it to you.
Okay,
I've never seen anything like it before. It is absolutely amazing. I don't know if you wanted, I was just sharing our live stream on the Planet X News Facebook page, so more people join in with us. But
excellent.
Yeah, I have absolutely no idea what this object is. I'm just moving around my computer here for a second, but it's pretty amazing. What did you think of it, Claudia? We thought it was a bird.
At first, it's definitely not a bird. It's definitely a device. It's artificial.
It's about a good 5,000 feet in the air. And I was trying to figure about how big it would be. And it's got to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet in length. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah. Well, we've seen the patents on the sun simulators. We've seen the patents that describe about launching a material that apparently could be miles and miles and miles in length. So something's going on.
Oh, yes.
Yesterday was one of those epiphany moments for myself. Was not expecting what was captured. So, Scott, you have the control of everything, and I'm convinced that something's happening.
Definitely something is happening. And they keep, they're not able to completely fool everybody that what we are seeing is the sun. I've just written a whole lot of articles about the fact that light beams come down through the clouds at different angles, showing that the light source is just above the clouds. And the trolls really don't like it, but the more they bother me, well, the clearer I try to make it, so I keep writing the articles proving that there's a sun simulator up there.
Yeah, listen, I asked the trolls, describe God to me. And I asked them if they're a Christian, because if they're a Christian, I can certainly tell the trolls that, guess what? I don't come and troll you on your religious beliefs. So don't troll me on a scientific opinion. Enough said. The following was a commentary by. So, Scott, I am anxious to see what you have, because
I'll go ahead. I'll share my screen and we'll get it up there. I mean, this is fresh, man. This is like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 4:30. Where do we have it here? I'm going to start off way over here. And let me just go full screen here. Now, we were just taking some zoomed in photographs up in the clouds. The clouds had moved over just a little spot of light, whether it be the simulator, the sun, whatever it was. We were trying to wait for it to come through. I snapped a series of photographs. Claudia snapped a series of photographs. And, it was kind of an overcast a little bit. The clouds were a little dark in some places. And then, went home, processed the pictures, uploaded them, started looking through them. And I got to this picture right here. And I thought to myself, what the hell is that on my screen? So I took a rag and I started wiping the screen. And what I was looking at was this cluster right here. And I thought it was birds, man, till I started zooming into it. And they're not birds. They're not birds at all. Look at this object. It's spherical.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So hold on, buddy.
And it's surrounded by a field.
It gets a lot better.
Yeah.
So I started, looking through the photographs, and let me just get out of this one. Am I going the right way? And I zoomed in real tight to the one object that I thought was closer to me. And this is what started coming out in the photograph. Now, I had the zoom all the way up to 45. So this object was very, very high in the sky. Very high. We're not talking like a little Piper airplane high. This had to be thousands of feet in the air. And based on the size of it, wait till you see, it gets better. So I started converting the photographs into 4K, higher definition, so I can see what this thing is. And as we started getting into the higher definition photographs, what is that, my dear sir?
Yeah.
There, Wayne.
Yeah, I'm examining it. It's
I'll send you the pictures.
yeah, that's an interesting object.
Oh, you've not seen anything yet, my dear
And
sir.
you can see there are clearly 90-degree angles. This is not a natural object.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got a light in the middle. It's emitting light. So it's a device that emits light.
And there wasn't just one of them. There was a whole, like I said, I thought it was when I zoomed in on my computer, and I've got some pretty sophisticated software for photography. And when I zoomed into this frame, I started saying to myself, my God,
Yeah.
that thing is absolutely massive. It's massive. I mean, it's huge. It's not like the size of a jumbo jet or anything like that. That object has to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet long. But here's the thing. It started extending itself in segments, opening up. Almost, it reminded us of those panels, how those satellites open up when they're launched out of the capsule into space, how they start to motorize and open up. But you have to remember something. I didn't see this happening through the viewfinder. I only noticed this after the fact when I was viewing the pictures.
Well,
So,
I
as
think
we-
it's important, Scott, to also realize they are below the high cloud altitude. They're definitely in the Earth's atmosphere.
How high, Claudia, how high? Because we didn't even have a chance to talk about this, but based on the size of it, what
Well,
type of altitude do you think this object would be?
Well, the highest clouds are at 45,000 feet. I think the clouds that we had today were lower than that. And this object was below those clouds So I would say they may have been at about 30,000 feet, maybe a little bit more, 35,000 feet. So they were very high up. That's usually the altitude that I would place the sun simulators at, maybe a little bit higher, 30 to 40,000 feet, the ones operating in the atmosphere. So I think these objects were about there as well.
Wayne, you're a little speechless.
Well, you know, that's 17 years in the video post-production industry, and I'm seeing, it's an interesting phenomenon. What I'm seeing here is that your dark object is actually in front of the grid. It's actually developed what I would call a field around it. You can see the distortion. It's not a distortion. You can see how the pixels are not on the previous one, the previous frame you had. The pixelization, that's not pixelization. There is an actual grid that is being shown here.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're talking about the fine white lines forming that grid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see the grid. Whatever this is actually below the grid.
Yeah. Yeah, this is why I think this is part of the lens system. It's got this reflective kind of ability that I would say it may be part of the advanced lens system.
Can you go and pull up more to the 10 o'clock position on the top of the photo? Yeah, right there. Yeah.
You want me to pull it closer?
Pull it down. Yeah. So get more in the mid frame there. Yeah. And a little bit more where the light source actually is emitting. Can you see that, Claudia? What I'm seeing here is two things. That I just got to be candid with you. I don't think that is a secondary light source. That I've seen that before.
Do you see how this thing looked? It's now unfolding.
See, it was inside the object.
Yeah, I know.
Up, and that light source appeared. It's amazing.
I'm just going to throw this out for just consideration. I think this is a portal.
Oh God, Jesus. Oh, let me tell you something. I've taken thousands and thousands of pictures over the years. I've caught small unidentified objects, you know, typical flying saucer looking objects, very, very high up. Back in 2016, I caught a few. I caught only one in 2017, but never have I seen anything with these type of geometric, this pattern.
And look at the pattern. So we get at the top at the 10 o'clock position, the one cube. Then you can actually see that it's connecting to nodes that step down. Mm-hmm. And then look at where our portal is opening up. That's a strange, that blue light is not what I would expect to see in a simulator, but what I would expect in opening more of the dimensional viewpoint. Because look, you can almost see how this thing is constructed.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
exactly. As I started converting more of the images into 4K, this is what was coming up. You know what I'm saying? So you're going from that first initial photograph, which was zoomed in 45x, 45 power. So that's pretty close as far as your camera. And again, I was just kind of shooting wildly up into the cloud cover because there were some openings here, some openings there. Yeah. And we were just waiting for the sun to come through this one set of clouds. It never did, but there were still some openings up there.
And Claudia, look at the light diffusion that we see behind whatever this is.
That's part of the field. It's immersed in a field.
Yeah, you can see it.
It's I guess it's one of these objects that have these advanced propulsion systems, the electrogravitic. they must always have a very high electric field around them to produce the propulsion and the anti-gravity effect. So I would expect this object to have that.
You know, I have a 35-inch monitor here, and I'm telling you what I'm seeing.
That's how big mine is.
It's unbelievable.
Well, here's my problem. Like I said, 17 years in the post-production industry. I know what special effects is. It's what I made a living at that. What concerns me about this picture is the blue light. It does not diffuse.
No, it keeps on going back.
That's the difference of this. And if you stare at this long enough, folks, I'm getting a really weird effect.
Look at this.
Look at that. You see, Claudia, I'm just going to put my 2 cents on in.
Put a whole dollar in, buddy.
Yeah, I'll just go $1.01. I'm going to spend big time here. That is a portal. That is not I think of this earth. That they are doing something here. And the freaking grid system on here is what's really freaking me out. Because see, you can see the white. You see how it begins to pixelate and it begins to basically blend in outward. You look at this blue, look at it. It just continues to go into infinity.
Yeah, it reminds me what I'm seeing, and I've got a high definition 32-inch flat screen monitor. And what I'm looking at as far as the blue square in the middle, it's looking like I'm looking down on top of a pyramid, because I can actually see on my end, I could see the structured lines of a perfect pyramid.
Yeah,
whether you're looking into it or you're looking on top of it. Either way, that's what it looks like to me.
It does look like a cross pattern that intersects in the middle. I can see why you would say it's a pyramid.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. There's definitely a cross pattern. So it could be several beams intersecting in the center. 4 beams.
I'll just throw in my 2 cents worth on this. The problem that I'm having here is that we can't really define the spatial depth of this object.
I know, right?
But now that you mentioned the pyramid, all right, yeah, I'm just going to throw this out, folks. There's a lot of people in the chat room. I don't know how many are in there right at the moment, but
here's a better look of it.
So I go back to the Vedic. And if you look at the ashram, Ram, that the ancient gods of India, of Krishna, they wrote in these. There was also the legend, as well as you go into the Bible. You can go in to the book of Zechariah. You can go into book of Ezekiel. You can go as well into the Sumerian lore. Many of the objects that they had, we would call, if you were looking at it and photographing it, it would look like a square, a cube, because you wouldn't have the field of depth that you would have with the 3D perspective on the ground. This could be very well a pyramid, a craft. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a sun simulator. I just have a different set of eyes that I'm looking at this. And
well, I was thinking the same thing, Wayne. It's almost like you're looking at it from the bottom.
Yeah, and that's the problem. That's what I am looking at. I don't know what the problem that I have is that with film is that you can't get the spatial perspective on this.
No, I was thinking the same exact thing. But one thing that drew me to this object out of all of the other ones that were scattered around the photograph in that little cluster, and I'll show you what teed me off on it.
Yeah, you see, if you look at that one, it looks like it may have rotated. Because we see a thinner part where we can see the blue light there.
Wow. Look at the distortion field on that.
Yeah, see, that's what caught my eye in the initial photograph. It it seemed like there was either a light source around it or a heat source, and you could already see the grid pattern forming right there. And that's not even converted to 4K. It's not cleaned up at all. You're looking at the original photograph.
And notice there are other blue parts to it. They're not as blue, but the top edge is blue. And then on the bottom edge, the mid part is also blue.
I'm telling you what I think this, in my interpretation, I think we're seeing a distortion of the electromagnetic field. And look at these, when you put it in this light here, what gets me is the grid system is confined exactly to where this vehicle is actually, whether it's rotating or whatever. I mean, it's fascinating.
Yeah, and I personally, I think it was stationary. In order for me to capture it with this much detail, it couldn't have been going fast.
No, I don't think it was moving translationally. I mean, in a straight line. I think it just rotated about its own axis, if anything.
I agree with you, Claudia.
I mean, this could actually be the bottom of something.
Okay, so let's examine the light spectrum here. So typically we know that bright light typically means greater heat, right, Claudia? Okay. So when we start now getting into the light spectrum to where we're now getting this blue-green light, and again, I don't know, it looks blue-green, but again, it could be very well. I think it's that strange, eerie, bluish, whitish. Yeah,
if you look at it, there's this diamond pattern right there in the middle.
Yeah.
But it's not as large as it was in the other image. To me, it looks like intersecting light beams. Wow. It's amazing. You see that the center is almost white.
Look at that. Yeah.
That's where the beams are intersecting. It's quite amazing.
It is. I'll tell you what I find fascinating is that if you look at the grid system that's on top of this thing, look how it actually goes over at the 9 o'clock position.
Yes.
Look at this. So we're seeing points of light, which tells me that it's emitting a field of some kind. It's obviously photons, right?
It's doing a lot, man. I can tell you that much. It's doing a lot.
I think this object may be larger. That grid pattern is very clear, makes 90 degrees angles. It means that this object may actually be embedded in another object that may be almost transparent.
Boy, I tell you what, I know how we can measure this. We'd need to just basically get your original frame, get a point of reference within the and then begin to do the math and determine what we're actually seeing. The only disadvantage to that is Adam Savage, good friend of mine, would point out again, what we can't see is really, it's like y'all came in, what are we looking at 5,000 feet? Are we looking at 50,000 feet?
The thing is, it's impossible to determine exactly. All we can say is it's below the clouds.
Zoom in on the blue-green. Look at what happens here. Look at the grid system. It's forming is exactly equal to the outside grid system.
You're absolutely right. And this is why I thought it was part of the lens system, because it looks like some kind of transparent kind of material. And I know they're not likely to be using lenses, real normal lenses. They're probably using some kind of very advanced kind of lens system, very advanced materials that may actually change according to need.
I want to point something out to you real quick here. If you take a look at this center structure, it's absolutely perfect on each side.
I'm going to throw this out again. You look at the TR3s and the new generation of them. This is the same type of light that has been captured in TR. Yes, ma'am. These are, I'm telling you, I think you got a ship here. I don't think you got a
I
sun
know, that's
simulator.
what I was thinking.
I,
You know,
I'm
after I got into the photographs, I started saying to myself, wow, you know, this is pretty amazing. And, you know, at the same time, this is a massive object. I mean,
It's
this is
huge.
huge.
It's huge. I mean, it could be a simulator, but I'm telling you, I have seen this signature before, and
Well, it could be the engine,
could be.
whatever's
Look at the
propelling
top
it.
of it.
Its
Again,
power source.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
each end is very defined
You see, I think
as a
those are
structure.
antennas. I think that those are communication antennas. Because look at
Well,
them.
they wouldn't need that many. I don't think they would need that many. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 on
It
each
might be
edge.
sources of a different kind of light emitting
Yeah.
from these angles.
Mm.
But listen, I mean,
I love this.
what I'm looking at here, it almost reminds me of like the bottom of someone's shoe, and you're looking at it directly straight up. And the structure is actually way bigger.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And we may be
Oh.
looking at a different levels of heat on this object and this photograph. You know what I'm saying? That, this area here, the real dark black area, might be a cooler area, and it's obviously the base of it has this illuminated grid pattern, and maybe, you know, an energy source right there where the turquoise blue is.
Yeah, but I can tell you what they use these spikes on these systems for, and that is to generate extremely high electric fields.
There you go.
Yeah.
Look
The
at that.
finer the spike, the higher the magnetic field will be at that edge. So,
Now, what I did here with this photograph, after I converted it over to the higher definition, I inverted it, and
Okay.
just a simple inversion. That's it. Now, when I did the simple inversion, that's when this complete looks like a staircase. Perfect. 90-degree angles. So, I mean, what did it actually reveal? Did it actually reveal, you know, some of the structure on the
it
base?
looks like an articulated craft that's designed to open up.
Yeah, or was it
Yeah, yeah. That
you
in
know, was
fact,
it opening something underneath it at the time I caught the photograph? I mean, this is a one in a trillion photographic captures. I mean, I've seen plenty of UFOs, but this,
okay, so if you flipped, and then like you don't have to, and I'm saying if you flip the two bottom ones on the right and you flip them up, they then would scoot over to center. You bring the top one down the same way. You could, wow, this is interesting. I'm telling you, it may be a simulator. Boy.
Well, look, I know that whatever simulators they have up there, they are using advanced technology.
Yeah.
This is not, they are not using the technology that we are used to. They've been hiding this technology from us since before the Second World War. You can imagine how advanced they are now.
hey, you want
And they are
to
using it in the atmosphere, that's for sure. I've always
hear something coincidental?
Yeah.
This is going to tilt the conversation a different way. As soon as I came back in the house, examined the photographs, 15 minutes before we were getting ready to go on the air, I stepped back outside into my driveway. I looked directly up into the sky at the same position where I would have taken this photograph. And guess what was sitting there in the sky? A little sliver of our moon.
Oh my goodness, it could be a holographic projector.
What do you think of that?
This is good. This is really good stuff.
You know,
Good-
this, I mean,
good mind coitus.
This is the brain burner right here because
It's good mind coitus. I like it. This is cool stuff.
I've never seen anything like it. I haven't had time to research the image. I'm going to go ahead tomorrow morning. I'm going to research the image and see if anything on the internet comes up even close to this.
You know,
Now,
I'd look. Go ahead. Go ahead, Claudia.
you can see there are the edges again
Yeah,
between
that's what
the
I'm looking at.
bottom two cubes. There it looks like there might be another light source there. It's just darker blue, not as bright as the central one. So it looks like my idea of being a holographic projector is very possible. This thing could be getting ready to emit its beams to produce something in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
A holographic projection.
Yeah, this photograph's going to haunt me for the rest of
Well,
my
the
life.
corners, Claudia, that you were pointing out is the reason why they're darker. They're denser. There's
Yeah.
a denser of mass there. I mean, this. I mean,
Yes.
come on, this is what we're dealing with. And so, look at the transparency of the cubes. And I listen. Those could be individual pyramids for all I know. I don't, But what we do know is that there is a difference of mass at those connecting points.
There's something. Yeah, there is something there.
And look at the one to the 11 o'clock position of the blue light. It doesn't have a dark node. You see that?
Yes.
You see how it connects to the outside one and then it comes, it's devoid of that.
I don't know if this thing was opening up. I don't know if this is like the skeletal structure on the bottom of it. All I know
think
is
it was opening up because the first photograph that we saw, we just saw the tiny little blue light and a small opening. This may have, even if it rotated, you can see that the small opening on the sides of the central cube, even if that was what was facing us before, it's still larger than it was initially. So I think it was opening up.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I have a 3D. I have a 3D animator program, and I'm gonna drive myself a little more crazy tomorrow morning, and I'm gonna load some of the images into this 3D program and see what it spits out.
You know where I've seen this? You know where I've seen this?
Oh God, don't hold us in suspense. Spit it out.
Go to the pyramids at Giza.
Is it a hieroglyph?
Lay it out. I see the three pyramids. Lay it out with Orion being in the center.
Okay.
It's a circuit board.
Oh dear God, I see it. Oh my God, Wayne, I see it.
You see it?
Yeah. Oh my.
You see it? And it's laid out exactly the proportion to what they are.
But at an angle, because we're looking at it.
You would look at it. This was what I would imagine what you would see if you were seeing it from
a little bit of a distance.
Yeah. Holy shit. I mean, that's what I've been staring at this thing. It's got a freaking psychic message to it, and it's bugging me. But that's what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing if you laid this out, you'd also see the same thing in Washington, D.C. You'd see the same thing in Rome.
Yeah, whenever I started getting into this photograph right here, this specific one, it really started bending my mind quite a bit. I started getting into some really, really deep thought, and all of a sudden I got real sick to my stomach, like real queasy in my stomach, and I don't know why. It was just weird. I don't know if it was me being anxious. I don't know. It was very, very weird when I was looking at this damn thing. I mean, I actually still feel like that looking at this thing even longer.
I can't be in the chat room, but if anyone could go to Google and Google the pyramids and then how they have it laid out in the line for Orion.
Yeah.
You can see the same layout in Rome. You can see the same layout in Washington, D.C. This is weird, Scott.
I know, man.
Yeah,
I'm going to lose sleep over this for a long time.
Well, I'd have your cameras ready. You guys may be, you may be in the hot spot there. This is good stuff. Great mind coitus.
I mean, like I said, I've taken, thousands of pictures of the sky. I've caught some weird things that I couldn't explain, but never anything of this type of detail.
Can I cut in? Listen, I don't know if anyone, because I'm looking at this full screen, but in the chat room, folks, get this thing, look at it full screen for me. I want to do an experiment right here, and I want you to focus in on the center of the blue emitting light and allow it to begin to dominate your perspective, and watch what happens to the rest of this behind. This thing starts beginning to distort. And if you start moving your eyes up and down on each side, look at the light field that follows your eyes. This is some weird shit.
It is. I was real happy.
Excuse me, Claudia. But if you stare at this long enough and you focus in on that blue center of that light, the light around this object begins to do some strange distortion to your iris, your pupil. And if you notice, it doesn't pixelate.
No.
That's the strange thing about it. And listen, I think that this is being obscured. I think that this is, in fact, a solid object right here.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
When I started looking at the other photographs, that's the first thing that came to my mind. And I called Claudia. I said, here, I'm going to shoot you these pictures. Take a look at them. And,
if you look carefully, you can see that they all looks like full squares behind the blue light. It is like there's material behind it, and we're seeing partially through it.
Phew, man! I just got dizzy there for a second.
It will. It will make you dizzy. It absolutely will. You've got to send this to me. This is some weird.
Yeah, I will. I'll get. Hold on one second. Let me jump out of here real quick, and let's do something here. How do I get rid of this? Oh, there we go. Let me do something here real quick.
Get one where they actually laid out in the perspective of Orion. You see? See what I'm talking about? And they've got one. I think if you go down, we'll find one in here. There is one that'll lay it out for Orion.
Oh, look at that. See, there's the ray of light coming through.
We want to see the pyramids from above. Aerial view.
There we go.
Aerial view.
This?
See? Look at that.
Yes. Two in a line and then a smaller one off to the
I don't know. It's look at that.
Yeah.
And even look how the sun is shining on the pyramids when they took this picture.
Yeah.
You see?
That's what I was saying. That that straight line.
Yeah.
Right through. Oh man, that's in the same position. I wish I had the side-by-side screen.
Yeah.
I don't want to mess anything up, but
wow.
I'm having chest pains.
Well, don't do that.
We
want to keep everyone alive.
It doesn't even look as straight as on that object.
Yeah. Look at the one to the left. You can actually see how it's off center to what we had in your photo. I don't know. That's what I kept on getting. And,
it did look like the top of a pyramid. definitely.
Yeah. It was just very, very weird. The shape of this. Yeah, you're right, Wayne. That's definitely
Weird stuff.
that's definitely weird. I turned it back over to you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll get before I go to sleep tonight. I'll email you all of the photographs and let it bathe your mind for a couple days.
Wow. It's got the chat room. I mean, there's some 330 people in here. It's just going off of the rail. So, well, let's just continue to add to the mind coitus then here. This, by the way, Chris sent this picture in to me. So this is not mine. I just want to make that poignant to everyone. But let's talk about what you found in these photos, Scott.
Well, one thing I wanted to point out to you right off the bat, and I've been noticing a lot of this lately, and I'm noticing these 90-degree angles or these acute, sharp angles in the clouds. There should not be any squares, triangles, or rectangles. Those shapes just don't exist in clouds.
Yeah.
But if you look at your picture, you see the perfect, almost 90-degree angle boxed off.
Look at that right here. Yeah.
And there, a lot of your photographs, and I've caught some of this a few months ago. I made a little picture pointing it out to everybody. How does that even happen? Number one.
I don't know.
Now, if something that was actually triangular or rectangular was pushing through those clouds, maybe you would get a quick glimpse of that angle as that object pushed through the clouds, made a temporary indentation, whatever. But this angle appears in a lot of these photographs.
It does. Very defined.
Yeah, it shows that these are artificially produced clouds or seeded. Well, they use straight lines to form the chemtrail clouds. They make crosses in the sky. So it's not surprising that we end up with sharp angles eventually.
Well, I know everyone, there was all around the world yesterday, there was something going on. People were, again, they weren't seeing it as intense as these. And I think that's maybe because we're just up at 6,000 feet. But there's our object. Now, Scott, I'm going to show some of the pictures that you did on this. You found that was, in fact, and Claudia, you said before we went on that this is, in fact, emitting light.
Yes, it's definitely a light source at about 5 o'clock below the sun. I saw that.
Yep.
There it is. It's emitting light. It's not a planet. When we see a planet, we don't see the full circle, especially if it's next to the sun, emitting light.
Someone pointed this out to me today.
We see a crescent. We don't see a crescent here.
We don't. Yeah, exactly. And I didn't spot this, but this object is seen with this one. So there is something, and I'm a skeptic on this. I just, I've often said that sometimes we get lens flares, lens anomalies, yada, yada, yada. We all know the routine.
Well, your lens flare is clearly in your photograph at the 11 o'clock position. I mean,
right there. It's like right in your face. Well, yeah, look at that. I mean, the lens flare moves. That object never does.
And I inverted and I turned a lot of your photographs into higher definition.
And I'm going to show that. I
inverted some of them just to make sure. And I literally tried to make the object at about the 4:30 position, the one that we're looking at. I literally tried to make it disappear. Okay. Now that's how I solve a lot of my pictures. If I could make that object disappear, then it's not there.
Okay. I'm going to actually,
I couldn't make it disappear.
So I'm actually going to pull these up. Give me 1 second. And so, Scott, I'll kind of let you do the play-by-play. Here they are. So these are yours. This is the one that you did with what? Look at this. There it is right there.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely there.
Definitely there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not your lens flare because your lens flare is that little red dot at the bottom.
Right down here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. That is a beautiful picture, by the way.
It is.
I did not really see the detail on this. Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I increased the resolution the best I could. And
these colors just...
Yeah.
What are we seeing here, Claudia? Is this
clouds.
chemicals? Are these chemicals? Is this what we're seeing?
Well, I looked into it, and the best explanation I could come up with is that they are thin films produced in the atmosphere by some of the chemicals they've added to the aerosols, and that is fluoropolymers. In other words, fluoride.
There we go.
Yeah, and
that's your problem.
They can be used to produce thin films. These are extremely thin material that spreads out onto the clouds, and through diffraction, it causes these colors to appear. It's the same thing that will appear on a soap bubble.
Sure. Yep. Or gasoline on water.
That's right.
So you caught it here, Scott. Look at this. You caught the other object.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this picture. Now, once again, off to the left, the red sphere, that is your lens flare.
And that is clearly, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
Yeah, it's very clear. There's definitely an object there.
So just to let everyone else know, on Facebook, I have gotten permission for 2. I'm waiting for another one, but other people caught this besides Chris. It was there yesterday. Maybe it's there. I don't know. I'm not versed enough. This is the one that really got me, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at that. Just amazing.
Now, I want everybody to understand, you're not going to see, picture perfect formations here because, number one, we're dealing with possible chemtrailing. We don't know exactly what's in these clouds, ice crystals, chemicals, chemtrail material. But at the same time, that light, if you look at the sun, it's not even normal looking. It's pure white. No matter what you do to it, it's just a pure white sphere.
Yeah, don't forget that's not the real sun.
That's what I'm just calling it that. To say that.
Yeah, I know you're saying that.
The teacher has spoken.
The point I'm trying to make here is, we're looking up through all of the Earth's thick atmosphere,
mm-hmm.
and we're still seeing a very defined spherical object that is not a lens flare.
That's
but whatever that is, it's clearly there.
Look at this, Scott. When you pulled it in this light, do y'all see this? I mean, the light is changed right here. So this is actually looks like a influence of something that it's around this.
Yeah, there's another picture I did that actually shows that it has somewhat of its own glow and atmosphere around it.
Look at that.
Right there.
Look at that. Wow.
Yeah, there definitely seems some kind of gas cloud around the sun's position. And that could be due to all the material that's been brought in by these stellar cores that I believe is now surrounding the sun. There's a lot of material around there.
And that's got to be millions of miles, hundreds.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't even dare to venture. Look at that. And again, the intensity of the chemicals on here, that the saturation is what just got me. And of course, when I was filming all this, and this, by the way, was 2 different cameras, 2 different locations at 2 different times, and people in other parts of the globe were picking this thing up. There it is. Look at that. It's got a spear around it.
Yeah, it's not the moon or anything like that. It's not any of our known planets. This one's it's pretty. This is also mind bending. When I looked at your photographs and I viewed the video, I said to myself, my God, I've told people before, based on what I've researched and investigated here over the years and trial and error, and I've learned myself, I just felt that it was going to be super hard or almost impossible to capture a glimpse of this object from the Earth.
Mm-hmm. I would be in the camp.
Cameras and things of that nature. But it seems that every now and then you catch these photographs. Maybe something is breaking down in the cloaking, and maybe we are able to catch these 1 in a million shots.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I tried everything for a good while to try to make that object disappear. But it's impossible because it does have its own light source. Whatever else is out there, the fake sun, the sun simulator, the real sun, that's also illuminating it. And it's literally cutting into the glow around.
It does. That's what just...
It's extremely bright. I think these objects are getting brighter and brighter, so it's getting more and more difficult for the hidden mechanisms, the hiding mechanisms they put in place to actually hide them.
Yeah.
Because that object must be very, very bright for it to be seen in the atmosphere with the chemtrails, with the haze they place in the atmosphere right next to the sun simulator, and it still shines right through.
Yeah, here's another thing also. If they're using chemtrail concentrations to bounce or reflect or deflect radiation and light back into space, who's to say that now that they have a situation like this, with whatever compounds are in these clouds right now, we know there's reflective material in there because of the coloring.
Yeah.
So let's just say that the intensity of this sun simulator or sun is literally bouncing light back into space, bouncing it back enough to cause whatever cloaking they're using to temporarily break down. And this person was in the right place at the right time and took the photo.
Mm-hmm. There it is. I mean, that one is just so freaking telling. It's just, wow. Okay. Mind sufficiently blown, as they would say. Wow.
It's amazing.
Well, what do we say to all this?
Well,
question: are they getting brighter because they're getting closer to us, or because their fuel is expanding? I don't. That was.
I think they're getting, let's say, charged up more and more.
Yeah.
Okay.
With time.
Okay.
I think that's what's happening. Also, I think initially we had smaller objects come in. And lately we've had, or in the last few years, we've had really large ones. And then they go through their rejuvenation process. I'm not sure how long it takes. It may take months, it may take years. They get brighter and brighter and brighter as time goes by.
Well, I have a couple of questions that someone sent in. They said, they would love to have your thoughts on the WMAP's finding regarding the background cosmic radiation of the universe. After NASA's third test and confirmation of data sets, it looks like Earth is the center of the universe. Not only that, but it also shows everything in the universe is arranged around our position, almost like on shelves. This is a very controversial document about the whole thing, and there's a thing called the principle. And then there's a second question, Claudia. I would like to know Claudia's thoughts on the hop of our Earth made from the Sagittarius arm to the Orion's elbow. It's a pretty much undisputed fact that, yes, Earth used to be in a totally different geographic location than it is now, but after that, no one seems to have anything else to add. I have not heard any physicists speak to this staggering happening.
Well,
there you go.
The first one, first of all, I believe that we are living in an infinite universe. So there's no such thing as being in the middle of the universe. But if the universe is infinite, any galaxy will seem to be in the center because we have infinite extension from every point.
I see that. You would actually, no matter where you are in the universe, you would be the center of the universe, whether this guy really is the center of it. Doesn't matter. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Now, I don't know what the WMAP is about.
Well, the second one was about Earth's position in the galaxy.
Right. And the first question regarding background cosmic radiation.
Yeah, that's what the background cosmic radiation, they said, was, it seems that it shows that we are at the center of the universe. And that is my answer to that.
Okay.
Because I don't believe in the Big Bang model. I believe that it's been falsified. And the Big Bang model will say that the universe has an age. It was about 18 billion years ago. It occurred and then it expanded. Now, I don't believe that. I believe that the universe is infinite in extent. And our only limitation is basically the speed of light. How long have we, how far can we see into the distance? And because it's the same in every direction, the universe will seem to be the same in every direction.
Do you believe that there is something greater than C, that you can achieve a speed greater to C once you reach?
Yes, I think the velocity of light may be a local phenomenon, not the same for the whole universe. It may change. It may be a changing parameter. And there is something else besides our 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. I think there is actually an underlying universe below the level we can see. And if we move into that one, we will definitely be able to connect at speeds faster than the speed of light. For example, gravitational signaling is infinite because that's the only way that solar systems will work. If the signal of where the sun is takes 8 minutes to reach Earth according to the speed of light, then the Earth would be orbiting the sun according to where it was 8 minutes ago. But then the other...
Got that.
The other planets would all be orbiting the sun according to where it was, according to how long the light takes to reach them.
Exactly.
So we definitely have infinite signaling in the universe, which is therefore faster than the speed of light. So.
And I heard, I have a very, very wise friend. And as he pointed out, he said, humankind only studies one aspect of light, the white light. that you don't hear it in our calculations or our thought processes when you begin to subdivide light. And white light would only be one part of that spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Well, even white light can be subdivided into an infinite number of subdivisions. We simplify it by dividing it into 3 primary wavelengths: the red, the green, and the blue. It works. We can explain most of the phenomena we observe in our atmosphere. It works very well for that. But we can further subdivide it into many more.
Yeah, that's when it starts getting interesting.
Yeah, and it was Newton's idea to subdivide it into 3 because he could explain everything that was happening. He could see it in his experiments. If you put the 3 back together, you get white light again.
Now that's interesting. So Newton, based upon the observer, and by the way, she loves your point as the observer, that you said that science is merely by you watching the observable data that you're
That's right. Physics is supposed to be evidence, observational based. That's the evidence for everything that we do. We still model whatever we observe. We make it as simple as possible so that we can predict further phenomenon. Also because our minds are very limited. And so we simplify things the best way that we can so that we can make it work simply and make it simpler to explain and to develop further. But if the simplified version doesn't work, then we would have to add some complexity to our model.
And that's where it always screws up. Listen, it's been a fascinating hour. Scott, I want to say thank you, sir. You gave me some of the best mind coitus I've had for a while.
Glad to stimulate you.
Everyone, make sure you get over there and definitely support Planet X News and Planet X Physicist. Claudia, I'm looking forward to these Monday nights. This is fun.
It'll be fun.
This is and Scott, you have an open invite anytime. You please join us. I mean, you got to send me those pictures. That's just
yeah. I'll get them. I'll get them off to you as soon as our live stream is over, and put them through the scrutiny. I'm actually going to send them out to a friend of mine he's been a photographer for, I think, going on almost 30 years now. And his daughter is, she just finished her schooling for all of this digital photography and filmmaking and the whole 9 yards. And they've helped me out with a lot of the photographs that I've had over the course of the last year. And I've blown his mind also.
You did a good job tonight. And, as we were talking, both of you two, when Claudia, I don't know, I didn't think about this. The fact that you could capture that light from that distance at such clarity, that's one intense beam of light, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, I have a question for you two. Was it beamed at you?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I got another story for you, Wayne, that we might want to touch on, and I'll just let it out right now. And Claudia was a witness to this. A few weeks ago, I was having a lot of pain right up here in my left nasal cavity. And I was having constant headaches right underneath my eye, right underneath my cheek, and right above my head here. And, I have allergies and, sinus, and the way our weather's been bouncing around here, I mean, it was 68 degrees here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not even
February.
the end of February, Pittsburgh. But
I love it.
yeah, and I kept telling Claudia, this pain and these headaches, and it was really messing with my eye. And
do you have an implant?
Yeah,
I bet you do.
And I have it. I got it out.
Oh, you do? You did?
Oh, yeah. If you want to see it now, I'd be more than happy to show it.
I'd love to see it. Go ahead, Claudia. You were going to say something.
No, that's okay. I've seen it. It
Okay.
is very strong.
I'd love to see it. Monday night, next Sunday night, this coming Sunday, Mary Rodwell is going to be on, and she is one of the leading UFOologists in Australia. And in fact, there is a movie coming out about her research. So I'd love to put you two in touch with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to see this. Do you have it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to just finish telling you how I got it out.
I'd like to know, because that sounds painful. I mean,
yeah,
I don't care what anyone says.
It was bothering me really, really bad, man. I mean, I'm talking like migraine strength pain behind my cheekbone and right along in here, right through here. And I kept telling Claudia, that's why we haven't been doing that many live streams. And that's why we've been doing a lot of videos, because I was having problems seeing out of that my left eye. And one day I was pushing on the outside of my nose, way where the bone is. And then all of a sudden I felt a pinch, like a needle. So, get to the gross part, I stuck my finger in there. I was feeling around and I could feel something sharp, but way, way back in my nasal cavity. So I stuck my pinky in there, and it was just by, out of the grace of God, man, that there was a real sharp pain once my pinky was in there. And I pulled back and curled my finger back, and I must have just caught enough of it, and I pulled it out. When I pulled it out, the whole entire side of my face kind of went numb for a second. And there was a real bad deep pain, but the pain was way back inside of me, not on my skin, but way back. When I looked at it, I had a little bit of toilet paper. Just, my allergies kill me all the time, so I'm constantly blowing my nose. I pulled off one little square and I set it on there. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, what in the hell is that? So we took some high definition microscopic photographs of it. And the pain in my eye went away. My vision was perfectly fine. No more sinus issues. I could breathe. And I'll show you the pictures of it.
Love to see it, man. That is just wild.
Yeah, well, wait till
light maybe.
Wait till you see it. Oh, where do I have that? Do I have that? I think I have it in the screenshots here. Oh, this has to load. I think I have it in this file here. Yeah, and I mean, I keep checking. I keep checking up there to make sure. Where the hell is it?
I know I've had these same things. You go and you go.
Oh, here it is.
Like I had that thing.
There it is, yeah.
Now, this one isn't magnified as well as the other ones, and this was done microscopically. So, but when you take a look at it,
it's got a clearly defined top and bottom, different colors.
And the coloring is, and I'm going to show you on a little picture of the sinus cavity. I'm going to show you exactly where it was. And it was attached to an artery inside of my nasal cavity, which goes directly up to my eye. So what was everything I was seeing out of my left eye, somebody else was seeing?
Most likely. I mean, the eye generates an electrical signal that goes back to the optic nerve.
Yeah. Here's another view of it flipped over. And let me tell you, it hurt.
I bet it did.
Hurt really, really bad whenever I pulled it out.
In police training, we're shown how you can take a suspect down very quickly just by squeezing that one pressure point.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And it's very sharp. It's hard, but it's also it's like a very, very hard piece of rubber.
Look at that. Wow. Wow, 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 wow.
That's a microscopic view of it right there.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Always jacking with us.
Yeah.
Well, you may have been, looks like you were tagged, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, going way, way back, I've showed this to a few people in the UFO community that I have communication with, and wow, they know in 1985, I had a UFO sighting experience with my grandfather, two other people on a highway, and a Pennsylvania state trooper. And not only did we see it and stop on the highway and all view this massive stadium-size object floating right above our heads and illuminating the entire highway, because it was just going into twilight, almost nighttime. And all of us have loss of time at that point. The time seemed to skip through the event for all of us. But we weren't the only ones that saw the craft. Over 100, I think the number was over 159 people saw it through a 100-mile stretch from one city to another. It made the newspapers around here, the whole 9 yards. It was pretty weird. It was a gigantic triangular shaped object with 3 white lights, one on each corner of the triangle, and like a small illuminated reddish light dead center. Made no sound. It was pretty far up there, but from our point of view, it looked like a building. It looked like a building floating through the sky, very, very slow, and no sound, man. Nothing.
Wow.
Everybody stopped on the highway and got out of their cars. And the police officer took everybody's name, but it was weird. When I talk about the missing time, we were going we were going north on Route 51. The state trooper was going south. We all stopped at the same point. I only remember seeing the police car on the other side of the road. And then instantaneously, I don't know what happened. Time shifted, and the police officer was now out of his vehicle, crossed over 4 lanes of highway and a Jersey barrier in the middle, and was now standing at the front of my grandfather's car. And the other people were right in front of my grandfather's car, pulled off the road. And he took our names and blah, blah, blah. And then me and my pap got back in the car. We were pretty shook up. My pap's a military man, 33 years in the military. And as we were cruising down the road, we were both looking at each other and, saying to ourselves, wow, what did we just see? What did we just see? And as we were merging onto another highway to go west, we had another lapse of time, because as soon as we went around that clover leaf to get on Interstate 70 West, we had about 15 miles to go to my grandmother's house. as we started talking about what we just saw, within a blink of an eye, we were going up the hill to my grandmother's house, my pap's house. So we lost more time. Now, my pap said, once we got to the garage, he said, hey, listen. He was like, hey, listen, boy, you know that cop took our information. And you know the boys in blue are going to be knocking on your door first thing tomorrow morning. Don't tell them anything. And I'm like, okay. Well, he was right. Because at 8 o'clock in the morning, they were banging on my door. They were banging on my mom's front door. And they were 2 U.S. Air Force personnel dressed in the dark, navy blue suits. And they were driving a navy blue LTD government license plate. I answered the door. I didn't even think about what my pap told me. I just opened the door, man, and they were both standing there. And the one had a manila folder in his hand, and they said my name. Next thing you know, I had another little lapse of time because we were at the front door, and at the time, my mom had a very big house. We had this big 13-room Victorian house. And I was standing at the front door. They were standing on the porch. And the next thing you know, when he said my name, I was now sitting at the kitchen table holding papers that he had in the folder. So there's no recollection of them walking into the house or even asking if they could come in. I was now sitting at the kitchen table with a pen in my hand and those papers. The papers were a questionnaire, information, personal information. And then the only thing I remember was the one man saying, now turn the form over and draw us what you saw. And I did. And then I had another skip in time, and I heard 2 car doors close. I was still sitting at the table. They weren't in my house. They were already out in the driveway and in their car. When I heard the 2 doors close on the car, I got up, walked through the kitchen, walked through the living room, looked out the screen door, and they were just pulling out. And that's the last I ever heard of it. But at the same time they were at my house, 2 of them were at my grandfather's house. That we never heard from them again. Yeah. So this is what was,
Wow.
Here's another view of it.
Wow. Scott, I don't know what to say to that, but holy cow, Batman. I think that, you may have got to get that analyzed.
Yeah, I have it. I have it put away safely.
I'd be really curious to see what that is actually made of. Wow. That is wild.
Here's something that's
if you feel it, it's actually extremely hard.
Yeah.
It's not soft.
It's almost like very, very, very hard rubber. You know what I mean? It seems biological, but in the same aspect, it may be biological and mechanical. Here's something that's also very weird. I'm always taking electromagnetic frequency readings in my house for different reasons. When this damn thing was in me, I was actually getting elevated electromagnetic frequency readings on my person.
Well, I think you found the source of it.
Well, I'm not getting those readings anymore.
There you go.
They're completely normal now.
My point. Wow. I don't know what really how do you deal with something like this? It's very disturbing, my friend.
Phew.
Yeah, this would mean that this object was actually using your blood supply as a power source because it's not emitting anymore.
Oh, yeah. Let me show you where it was. Do I have the... This is where it was. See the blue?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can feel, I could start to feel, the cartilage, bone, whatever that is in my nose back there. And you see what artery, it was the angular artery, and it was right there.
Amazing.
And where does that go? Look.
Yeah, it goes right up to the optic nerve. Wow. You really should get that analyzed.
Yeah, I have it sealed away. It's in its very safe place. I check it out from every couple of days to see if it has changed in any way, and it has not.
I'm going to ask Mary about this. She does a lot of work with implants of targeted individuals and abductees, and the whole missing time.
Yep.
Yeah,
there's only a few people that have really ever heard that story from me. I was about 6. I think I was 16 when that happened, and
wow.
I really never. I mean, I've mentioned it here and there, but
I think you may have, like I said, kind of that photo may have a more of a connection than what you realize. But yeah, this is something I get checked out, Scott. And of course, you're going to have to trust the individual, wherever lab that would do that. But holy cow, Batman, dude.
Yeah.
I told you this was going to be an exciting show.
Well, I think we exceeded the expectations here. We've maintained an audience of over 300 for an hour and a half. That's good, folks. That's really good. And yeah, Craig says Wayne needs to process all this.
Yeah. You might need a couple of days.
Well, and the thing about it is when anytime the cognitive reasoning sees something that it can't rationally categorize, cognitive dissonance wants to set in. And I've learned that when you see the unusual, you see the unexpected, allow it to talk to you. And what you caught has a lot of psychic energy to it. I'm just telling you, that's just my take. So, well, Dr. Albers, thank you for this is going to be fun. Scott, I'd love to talk to you more on this. When I talked with Mary, I'd love to put you two together.
Yeah, absolutely. You have my cell phone number, right?
Yep. So I'll get that to you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for another. This is just how the shows are going to go on Monday night. So again, make sure you support Claudia over her channel on the Planet X Physicist, and Scott with the Planet X News as well. I'd like to announce on my radio show, I just found this out. So before I came on, Artie Kornfeld is going to be a guest. We haven't gotten the time, but he has agreed to come on. And many of you probably don't know who Artie is. But when I tell you what he is responsible for, you're going to go, wow. Artie was the promoter of Woodstock.